All right, so I watched this the other day, and I'm gonna go ahead and watch it again to do my review on it, just to make sure I don't miss anything, because there's just so much to talk about here. In fact, if you ever wondered why Cora's face looks like that, it's because she watched Wonder Woman 84. So we're fixing to watch it again. Cora, Brody, Brandy's over there, but she's in her nightgown, so I'm not going to film her. But but here we go. I'm fixing to start it again, and hopefully I can make it through without either bashing my head in with a hammer or committing suicide. All right, so as we open up, there's a scene. The opening scene of this is what seems to be some type of Olympic Games competition, maybe Cirque du Soleil type Amazonian get-together, which is just pretty cheesy to start off with. You have what appears to be an 8, maybe 10-year-old Diana, which is physically able to run and swim and climb just as fast as the rest of the Amazonians, which, if you take into how powerful she is, probably isn't that ridiculous, but the fact that she has yet to come into her powers makes this whole scene pretty ridiculous, right? And then she cheats to win. So, and then there's this speech about where you can't get ahead in life if you cheat. And I'm sure that that's got to play some major part in this movie, right? I mean, that's the whole setup. Wait, it doesn't. In fact, it really has no other bearing in this movie besides a speech later on in the movie. Are you fucking shitting me? All right, so we have made it past the opening scene, Cirque du Soleil Amazonian, and we're now in the city. It is 1984. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Justice League, Bruce Wayne was tracking down Wonder Woman, which was a myth at that point, based off of a photograph which was taken at the end or sometime close to the end of the original Wonder Woman movie, which was set during World War I, right? But here we are in 1984, and she's running around the city in full Wonder Woman garb, saving people, kicking Corvettes, stopping bank robbers, swinging in, saving people that fall off of bridges. And yet we are supposed to believe in Justice League that she's been in hiatus for 100 years and has not been part of human civilization. All right, so we're finished with the first fight scene, right? There's a jewelry store that is a front for stolen antiquities, I guess. It hasn't said it yet, but there is a wishing stone. Looks like 3 robbers that know of this front. One of them looks like Limu Emu. The fight scene is just horrific, right? The physics, none of the physics in the fight work. She comes rushing in. There's security cameras. Now, she does knock out the security cameras, which could help explain why nobody knows who Wonder Woman is, but that's after a dramatic entrance and pause where she stands there, obviously being filmed by the security cameras, and then she knocks him out. And then, like I said, none of the physics work. She trips a dude that flies 15 feet in the air. As she's swinging from her rope, it literally changes directions in mid-fucking flight. At the end, them with nobody seeing Wonder Woman, these 3 guys are wrapped up together and dropped at least 20 feet on top of a car. I understand Patty Jenkins wanted to kind of pay an homage to some of the earlier superhero movies, especially Superman. But this scene is so cheesy and so ridiculous. It just doesn't work. It's pathetic. It is just a shame compared to what we had in the first Wonder Woman movie. All right, so in walks Kristen Wiig, which is playing Barbara Minerva Cheetah. As she walks in, she drops everything, right? She's brand new at this place. And there's 2 guys that just kind of walk past her and laugh. I think I'm already starting to feel the misogynistic undertones of the movie. Diana walks up and helps her pick up her stuff. And apparently she is such a shallow, pathetic person that the first person that she comes in contact to in the movie, she's automatically trying to make friends. Like, let's go have a drink. Let's go get dinner. The person that hires her comes in and is like, do you know, he asked Diana Prince, do you know where Barbara Minerva is? It just hired her a week ago and has no recollection. So Kristen Wiig's character is already starting off as a really pathetic character that someone that hired her can't even remember her a week later. And don't get me wrong, I think Kristen Wiig did a great job in this movie for what she had, but she does kind of seem to be stuck in the same roles over and over again. Even on Saturday Night Live, she kind of just plays the same character. Life is good. It could be better. Unlike this fucking movie. So, enter Pedro Pascal, right? AKA Maxwell Lord. This should get better, right? Pedro Pascal from Game of Thrones and The Mandalorian. Is that really saying a lot that we're excited about a guy that wears a fucking helmet and has a monotone voice all the fucking time is supposed to save this fucking movie? We'll see. I did skip something. So Kristen Wiig has already made her wish on the stone. Gets up the next day and everything's different, right? One, she's got a new set of clothes on underneath her fucking clothes, which is just fucking weird. But two, she walks out and one of the misogynistic assholes earlier in the movie that refused to help her when she dropped all her shit's like, hey, Barbara, looking good. And then, you know, we get Maxwell Lord, which is now all over her because somehow he fucking knows where the stone is, right? It's been confiscated. The FBI is on their way to pick it up. There was a bank not a bank heist, but a jewelry heist, and yet he knows where the fucking stone is. So, if you don't know, the wish that Wonder Woman made was to have Steve Trevor back, right? And we've gotten to the point to where that happens. And it's weird as fuck. In fact, from this point on, it makes absolutely no sense. Because Stone does all types of shit, right? It builds walls and oceans and nuclear fucking missiles and whatever you wish for, right? And it's like a monkey's paw. Like, there's a consequence to making your wish, okay? So, Diana Prince is at a party and this weird guy comes up to her and suddenly becomes Steve Trevor, which is played by Chris Pine. And she sees this. Guy's creeping her out, and then just all of a sudden, he becomes Steve Trevor. So, the thing is from that point on, that dude is no longer in control of his body. He obviously consciously doesn't know this, because there is a scene at the end of the movie where they meet again, and the guy has no recollection whatsoever of what's transpired during the movie. So, what the fuck happens to this guy's life while she's running around with this guy for the remainder of the movie? Does he have a fucking cat or a dog at home that's starving and being neglected? Does he have a job that he's been fired from? What exactly are the repercussions of her being selfish, knowing that this is not Steve Trevor, and continuing anyway to hold on to that? And that's another moral dilemma, because I understand at first the emotions that she would have seeing him, but this is Wonder Woman, and she's been held to a higher standard in comic books and movies before this of being the light of hope and justice and truth. And yet, just out of nowhere, she is completely self-centered, knowing that she is kidnapping a guy. You know, as we move on, Maxwell Lord has made his wish, which was to become the wishing stone so that he can become powerful and rich. Alright, so Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor have to get to another country, to Maxwell Lord, right? And how do we do this, you may ask? Well, we're going to go to the museum and we're going to steal a plane because, you know, the museum always keeps planes full of gas and prepped, ready for takeoff at any fucking point, right? This, for anyone to come take a fucking plane. And on top of that, let's not forget that Steve Trevor is a World War I pilot that somehow just magically, mysteriously knows how to fly a fucking 1984 jet fighter plane with no problems at all. And while this is going on, God only knows where the fuck this pile of shit came from, but we've never seen Wonder Woman's invisible plane, right? So let's just manifest this internal fucking power that's never existed before or after this movie to magically make the plane invisible, not only to sight, but to fucking radar. Is she actually trying to turn the plane fucking invisible by doing a Kamehameha inside the goddamn plane?
Yep.
Kind of warming her hands up, fucking summoning an inner power, fixing to shoot a goddamn Dragon Ball out her ass. Is that what the fuck's going on? Alright, so Steve Trevor, Wonder Woman have caught up with Maxwell Lord in this other fucking country like Cairo or Egypt or somewhere the fuck over there. Maxwell Lord has stolen this guy's, or taken in turn for a wish, this guy's security detail, right? And they just happen to just randomly out of the entire fucking country pass him on a road and turn around to go chase him, which makes me wonder why not have an invisible car at this point? You just had an invisible plane that got you there with no fucking problems, but let's just drive up next to him in this armored fucking personnel vehicle in plain sight, and the fight ensues, right? And which is one of the stupidest fights I've ever seen for a comic book movie, unless you watch the newer Fantastic Four, which beats this movie hands down in stupidity and cheesiness. But during the fight scene, a bullet gets shot, it passes Wonder Woman, and she fucking grabs it with her lasso out of the air, just fucking whips her lasso, wraps around a fucking bullet in the middle of the fight. But the one thing we do learn during this fight is that because of her wish, the effects that she's having from that wish is that she's starting to lose her powers, right? So, and it varies so much in this fucking movie, because in one scene she's having trouble breaking a lock. In a scene here, she can't even hold on to her fucking whip. But then later, she's strong again. So it varies due to the situation and the nature of what the storytelling needs, as to the severity of the loss of her powers at that moment. And if she's losing her powers, then why does she regain some of them later? I don't fucking know. Did she honestly just swing from a fucking rocket that was launched out of a truck in mid-fucking air? Alright, so Kristen Wiig has found this hippie dude that just conveniently knows the whole story of the wishing stone, how she found him. He lives in this little rundown shack. It's pretty pathetic how she just happens to find this dude, and he conveniently knows the entire history and story of the stone. It's just thrown in there to help the plot move forward. Fast forward a little bit, Maxwell Lord. I don't understand this part at all. This makes no sense to me. I don't know, maybe it has something to do with him being the stone now, because the stone was meant to grant wishes, but he's now become this powerful, pretty much everything that he wanted, right? He's an oil tycoon, he's rich, he's powerful. Anytime he grants a wish, he gets something from somebody else. Wish after wish, he keeps getting stuff. But now it seems almost like he's just granting wishes. It's petty. The stuff he's getting really doesn't seem to make any sense. He wants his pastor's congregation, and he's starting to lose his mind a little bit. Alright, so in the movie, it has made it clear that each person can only receive or be granted one wish, right? Because that's I'm going to bring that up here in a little bit. But as the story moves forward, Diana's now telling Steve Trevor how, because she knows that she has to give him up, right? She's losing her powers. She has to relinquish her wish, right? To get her powers back to stop Maxwell Lord. And it absolutely fucking hysterical. So they're in her apartment, and she's telling him how she can't give him up, and she refuses to give him up. And then he sees her golden armor sitting over in the corner, and she puts the lasso, which apparently is just gaining abilities throughout the movie, and can now force people to see the truth, telling him or showing him the story of the Golden Warrior from her culture, that the only reason Amazonians survived was because of the selfless sacrifice of this one individual. So in one breath, you're fucking telling me that you're a selfish cunt because you refuse to give him up, while you're going to explain to him about selfless sacrifice. Alright, so we actually have reached a highlight of probably the best part of the fucking movie, right? So there's a fight scene. Wonder Woman catches up with Maxwell Lord in the White House after the president wished for more nuclear missiles, which, I mean, whatever, right? Let's not wish for our enemies to not exist or no threats to America. Let's just wish for fucking more nuclear missiles, okay? But anyway, despite that, the fight scene was really, really good. It's the best part of the movie. It's better than the end fight scene. It's better than the ending of the movie. And this is probably the only part that remotely at all resembles the first Wonder Woman movie. We finally got to the point where Diana realizes that she has to leave Steve Trevor, right, to regain her powers. They're going through the city, and it's utter chaos, right? It's apocalyptic. Shit is going wrong everywhere. People are all out in the street fighting and looting and fucking everything, okay? But the goodbye scene, the love scene, the kiss, just feel so fake and forced. The chemistry that Chris Pine and Gal Gadot had in the first movie just doesn't exist in this movie. But what fucking gets me is that, so once again, we've established that Steve Trevor's consciousness is coming to this guy's body, and so she's renouncing her wish, and she just leaves this guy in the middle of this apocalyptic setting, this burning city, right? Just runs off from him. So this guy's consciousness is going to return. Steve Trevor's consciousness is going to leave. And this poor fucking dude that 1 minute was doing something with his life and then gone is just going to reawaken a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It doesn't really establish a good timeline, but a good chunk of time later, in the middle of this apocalyptic hell, not knowing anything that's going on, as she just runs from him because she can't say goodbye. So much wrong with this fucking movie. So she's now learned to fly, right? Which in the comic book she can fly, but in this, the way it's set up is it's not an internal power. It's not strength and ability or being a superhero. It's that it's wind and air and pretty much gliding on the air currents. And on top of that, wouldn't that have fucking really have helped out in Justice League? That would have helped out a shitload against Doomsday that they created. It looked like Clayface Doomsday, like fucking Batman's arch enemy Clayface and Doomsday were merged together. But that's another rant for a whole nother fucking film, right? I keep bringing up Justice League and we're not getting into that today. But considering that this is 1984 and she can fly, and then we go to Justice League and she can leap really far, the inconsistencies in the plot and timeline in this film is just on another level of stupidity, in which should be a consistent, coherent timeline from start through the DC universe, but it's not. We just make shit up as we go that doesn't fit in anywhere. Barbara Minerva's transformation into Cheetah is complete, and I gotta say, I kind of thought maybe it was a crack-headed stray from Cats. The makeup and CGI is horrific, and it doesn't actually show any of the transformation. She just, once again, I said I was going to get into the whole wish thing, right? So everyone else is allowed one wish. Somehow she gets two. He grants her a second one. Apparently the rules for wishing don't apply to her, and she can have a second one. And she wishes to be an apex predator, hence the transformation into Cheetah. That being said, also, as we're going through this scene, the premise of the wishing, the whole way that it worked throughout the movie was that you had to touch the stone, and then when the stone became Maxwell Lord, you had to touch him. And now apparently we can broadcast, and the particles from the satellite will touch you, and that in turn makes it okay. It's so bad. But as the fight picks up, it actually starts off being a pretty decent fight. Cheetah's a beast, just like she is in the comic books. One of Wonder Woman's toughest opponents. And for y'all that don't know, the golden armor actually came from a comic book series. I think it was the Kingdom Come series. I'd have to double check. I said that the fight scene started off good. That didn't last. Barbara Minerva's first wish in the movie was that she wanted to be more like Wonder Woman, Diana Prince. And that works out so great for this fight scene because, once again, going back to the very beginning of the movie, when you have the opening scene with Cirque du Amazonian, that's pretty much how this fight scene fucking ends. And because of that wish where she wishes to be like Diana Prince, Barbara Minerva also has Cirque du Soleil type qualities, in which they spend the majority of the fucking fight dangling off of a lasso, spinning around aimlessly throughout the air until they fall into the fucking water. And then she's electrocuted. End of the fight. Why can't it be the end of this goddamn movie? There's a couple of things I could get into at the end of this movie, but I'm not. I'm done with this review. I've spent way too much time in this horrible, fucking miserable existence of Wonder Woman 1984.